Hey guys, welcome back. It's your girl, Rochelle. If you don't already know me, I am a YouTuber, vlogger, and welcome to my channel. That was a word intro. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe if you want to follow my life and vlogs and other lifestyle content. And if you're returning, you already know what to do. Welcome back. So today I'm going to be doing a life update video about my life here in Ghana. When I became pregnant, I realized that some of you didn't even know I was living in Ghana this entire time, or how long I'd been here, or that I was still here. So I'm going to give you guys a bit of an update. I will be referencing my phone because I cannot remember every single thing. So I have my notes and I'm going to go through them with you guys and just give you a general update on my life here in Ghana. And also information for you guys who are interested in the process of maybe moving, or what it would be like to relocate to Ghana/Africa. Yeah. So I came here in 2020, right before, or I guess during COVID. And at the time, I just made a decision that I'm going to live here. I was not going to visit. I'd never been here before. So I just decided that I was going to move. And I made that decision by doing tons of online research. It just happened to be the year of return. And there was a lot of information and content online about living or relocating to Ghana. And also, I wanted to live in a Black country. So I am Jamaican background, but Jamaica be a little rough. It'd be a little rough. So I was like, you know what? I can't go to Jamaica with 2 kids. So I decided to just look for somewhere else, and Ghana is what kind of came up on the radar. Again, due to the year of return, there was a lot of information at the time about relocating and coming to Ghana and everything like that. So I picked up a list. You're gonna hear Bob up in the background as well. Bob. So this is in no particular order, my list of information. So I'll start here. For example, when you are living in non-Western countries, I wanna say, rent, when you pay rent, it's typically upfront, and even mortgages are more likely upfront, like in terms of the payment. Some places might have mortgages that are similar to the West, like 30-year mortgage, 25-year mortgages. But here, for example, I mean, you can get a mortgage, but the interest rate almost doesn't make any sense to even get a mortgage. So typically people pay upfront. So if you're gonna purchase, it's kind of an upfront lump sum payment. And if you're gonna pay rent now, you're gonna have to potentially pay 6 to 1 year's worth of rent. And I would say that's the most difficult part of living in a non-Western country, because it is technically cheaper, but you're out of that money like up front for like a year. You get what I mean? And you also want to be careful to budget for your next year's rent, right? So that is kind of the annoying part. But again, in non-Western countries, it's typically like that. So you pay 6 months to a year, or even 2 years in advance for your rent. Also, the tricky part about that is, what if you find out that there are things that you don't like about the place? It's kind of like, they're gone with your money, so they might not feel that obligated to come and fix things and make all these changes. You've already paid a year. They got your money in their pocket, so they're not necessarily pressed to ensure certain things. So that can be a bit of a tricky scenario with paying upfront. Get your brother, Jordan. Get your brother. In terms of income, of course, I'm a content creator, YouTuber, so that allows me to be able to make money and create content anywhere in the world. But not everybody has that job or opportunity. So I would say it's a lot easier if you're able to do some sort of remote work or work from home, where you're able to earn USD or CAD. So it's going to be a lot more helpful if you're able to do that. Or if you have the gusto, you can start a business here in Ghana. So starting a business anywhere in the world is difficult, okay? So there are challenges here as well, but there are also some pros to starting businesses here as well. So for example, I have a restaurant called Crazy Burger. It's a burger restaurant. And So far, so good. There's a lot less red tape around starting a business here. And fortunately, it's kind of like who you know here. And a lot of countries outside the West are kind of like that, right? If you know the right people and this and that, you can get in where, you know what I mean, wherever you can get in. So those are some of the benefits when it comes to starting a business. The downside is that the income that you're accustomed to making, you might not make that much. I mean, comparing to the West, right? What you might make from a business in Canada or in the US, you might not make that much here. You'll still make money for sure, but you know, the ratio is definitely going to be a little bit different. As well, it does depend on what line of business you're into. So for example, in my opinion, let's say you want to do clothing. I think it's a bit more difficult because there's a ton of people here who know how to sew, seamstress, and their prices are pretty reasonable, right, for what we're used to. And let's say you want to be a seamstress. You're going to have to make your prices comparable to what already exists here, right? So it just depends on the industry you're getting into. In my personal opinion, food is the best, I think. Yeah, food and entertainment are my top two areas for business, maybe here in Ghana. People always gotta eat and people like to be entertained, you know? So I would say that those are the best areas to consider if you want to consider moving here and starting a business. Another challenge of starting a business is finding good workers. That's actually a thing. So yeah, just finding people that understand you and understand the service that you're trying to provide. That can also be a challenge, which we've managed to overcome, but it definitely was a challenge, I'll say that. Also, if you found my channel, you might have noticed I have a baby, and also you guys who've been following me, you know I had a baby recently, right? So I just want to touch on having a baby and like medical services in Ghana. So I meant to do a home birth, but I did have the baby in the hospital. Luckily, I didn't have any complications, so everything was fine. But I will say that if you have a medical condition or a medical history, you might want to just make sure you have enough funds for any emergency. So in general, certain things are not that expensive, but if you do have to be hospitalized, it can be very expensive. And if you're coming from the West, you do want to be in a reputable, facility based on what you're used to, right? That could be a couple thousands if it's something serious, really serious, right? So that's something you also have to take into consideration. Even myself, luckily, I haven't had any medical complications. My kids haven't had any medical emergencies. So that's been great. And I really haven't spent anything in the way of medicine or emergencies since I've been here, thank God. But you never know when an emergency will arise, right? So you just have to have some cash, laid away just in case. And I'll give you an example of like the cost of visiting the doctors. So when I was going for my prenatal visits, it was 168 CDs, which is about $15 US, something like that. That was just for a checkup while I was pregnant. So that's like a typical range of a doctor's visit, right? I had my tooth extracted the other day, and I had 2 fillings completed as well. And that came up to like 1,900 CDs, which is about 180 US. Yeah, that's just an example of medical expenses. I think it's reasonable, but again, if you get into a real emergency, it could cost you thousands based on the service that you would expect or comparable to the West. Yeah. I want to talk about schooling. So my son is in school and my daughter is homeschooling. So again, this can be a tricky area because obviously there are cultural differences and your kids are going to notice that in school and they're going to have to get used to it. They definitely do a lot of things here very differently. I'll give you an example. So when you are in school, you have to buy your own books, okay? So you pay your registration fee and all that type of stuff, and you gotta also purchase the books to go along with your year or semester or whatever. And the books are like so big and heavy, and your kids basically travel back and forth with like 12 textbooks.
Dictionaries.
And dictionaries. And then they want you to get notebooks for each subject. So those notebooks weigh a ton. So that's just how it is here, you know what I mean? So that's just like something that I thought like, oh my God, this is so annoying. Jordan's gotta carry like these 30-pound books back and forth from school every day. And even the notes that he takes is not significant, right? So I just think it's kind of funny. The school that you're probably gonna wanna put your kids in, you're gonna wanna probably do international school, which can be, I don't wanna say it's too costly, but it adds up, especially if you have multiple children. You have to consider transportation to and from school. You have to consider lunch, if they'll buy in-school lunch or if you'll make lunch. But those are things to be expected, to be honest. But you just have to figure out all of that dynamic. And I'm also gonna say where you live is gonna play a role, right, in the school that you think you might wanna put your kids in, right? So it is cheaper to stay further out of town, but at the same time, you might not find a school like outside, out of town, wherever you're staying, you get what I mean? So if you stay in the city, you can get the schools, but also it's a little bit more expensive, right? So you gotta like kind of find the balance there. And along with education, I'm gonna say recreation is another area of challenge. Again, this isn't the West where they prioritize children. No! So they don't really have parks, they don't have like bike trails, like, you know what I mean? So you have to proactively find things or other people to do things with, right? And that's where WhatsApp groups come in handy. If you were to decide to come here, you'll definitely be put into different WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, and people share their experiences in the groups, and you guys can connect, have play dates and all that type of stuff. So those groups are really, really amazing and great for keeping you kind of current and letting you know what's going on. And it's a community for you to be like a part of, right? As an expat living here in Ghana. So those come in very handy. But yeah, in terms of recreation, you have to be creative to find certain things for your kids to do. If you live somewhere like an estate that has a pool, that's amazing. But most estates don't necessarily have a pool. Where I lived when I first moved to Ghana, it did have a pool, a park, basketball court. It was perfect, but it was also way out of town, right? So to get into town, it was like a 45-minute drive to an hour drive, right? So pros and cons, but those are things to consider. So when it comes to actually living here, it's not like that stringent in terms of your visa and how long you're here or whatever. When you come, you do need a visa, so you can get a travel visa. You just have to go online and look up the process and find out where you can submit your information to get your travel visa. You won't be turned down, but you can get a travel visa. And then when you get here, however long you stay, like overstay your visa, there's no real penalty, like there's no one looking for you, so you could be here for 20 years. But it's when you go to leave the country, they'll kind of back charge you for the time you overstayed your visa or your dates, whatever it is. But you can just kind of just come here, yeah. You can apply for citizenship after a couple of years, or if you have a business or whatever. And obviously if you're married to someone or something like that, that can help, of course, that would be a part of it. For the most part, in my opinion, I don't see the big rush to get any super official documentation living here personally. I will eventually apply for mine, but there's no real consequence to not having it right now. So, you know, it's one of those things. Now, living here is interesting because a lot of little things are cheaper here compared to the West. It's cheaper, but it adds up, okay? So restaurants are a little bit cheaper, but you can easily get carried away with that mentality. Ubers and Bolts are a little bit cheaper, but again, it adds up, it adds up. For me, what I've done lately, because we have the restaurant, we're able to access wholesalers who provide different food items. So what I've been doing is buying bulk foods, especially foods that we're used to in the West. I'll give you an example, like broccoli or strawberries. I saw strawberries, like a small pack of strawberries in the grocery store for $20. $20. A head of broccoli is 10 US dollars, like one head of broccoli is 10 US dollars, right? Those are the things that we're used to and we might miss, but buying it in the grocery store, there's a super tax on it and I don't understand why. What I've been doing lately is buying bulk from wholesalers, things that I like to have, like broccoli or strawberries or salmon or chicken breasts and, you know, different items like that. So that will save you a ton of money, but you know, having the mentality of buying your groceries at the grocery store like you're in the West, there's a huge tax on all the food in the grocery stores. Some things you can get, but it doesn't even make any sense, the amount of money that you're paying additional for the item. So you do have to be a little bit creative when it comes to that. And a little goes a long way. Like the money you're saving, like after no time, you'll really see it back, you know? I wish I knew that when I first came here. I think I spent like way too much money. But this time around, I'm like trying to stick to my budget and try to be more creative in ways to save like money. Another example of saving money that I've been doing is if I go somewhere, I get a number for someone, like if I need something, so that when I want it, I can just call them and just have them deliver it to my house. So I buy big waters for my water dispenser. So I'm thinking, instead of me going to and from to buy the water, I might as well take the guy's number and have him put it in a car for me. So I only pay transportation for one direction. I'm not going there and coming back. And it also saves me time and effort. So that's something that I've been doing as well. Or I go to the grocery stores, I take a number of a guy in the grocery store if I need it. So I call him and I ask him to just cash me out. I pay via Momo. So Momo is basically like email transfer or cash app. It's something like that, but with your cell phone number. You use your phone to send money to someone else's phone, basically. So that's what I'll do. I'll just pay with my phone and just have the person put it in a car and have it delivered to my house. So those are ways that I've been being creative lately to save some money. Yeah. Another pro to living here is having someone to help you around the house. That's not really realistic in Canada or the States in terms of having, like hiring someone who can come and help you in your house, whether it be with children or just house chores. It is a little bit more reasonable to pay someone to come over and assist you in however you need them to help you. I have someone who comes over every couple of days of the week and just helps me out with the baby and around the house and cleaning and organization. So that is a plus to living here. It's it's pretty reasonable, and if you can make good use of the person coming around to help you, you can get a lot done. Also, if you guys are asking if I'm ever going to return to Canada or if I'm going to live here permanently, I honestly don't know. Now, recently an opportunity has presented itself for us to open a crazy burger in Nigeria. So I am going this week to just scope it out, check it out. And if we do open in Nigeria, we would have to potentially move there for a short amount of time in order to like set it up and all that type of stuff. So in terms of now moving from Ghana back to Canada, I don't really think I want to move back to Canada, not right now, not in the near future anyway, but I will be going to visit my parents in about January or February, so I'll be there for a visit, but for the most part, I see myself staying in Ghana / Nigeria for business for maybe the next 12 months at least, and if I do go back to Canada, maybe for, you know, a couple months visit or so, something like that. But overall, I'm liking living in Ghana / Africa. And yeah, I don't really miss Canada like that. Like, you know, I'm over it. Yeah, I don't miss the winter. Yeah, nothing there that I'm like dying to go back for really, except for my family, my parents, you know, that's it. But yeah, and I do want to say, if you are interested in moving to Ghana, I just want you to come with an open mind and come with extra patience, because of course the cultures are different from the West. And I think that we are a lot faster and Ghana is the opposite. It's actually a lot slower. And you're gonna have to be very hands-on with services or things that you need done. Like, you have to really oversee your own stuff, right? So if someone is doing some electrical work, you gotta be standing there, okay? You can't just turn around and, you know, let them do the work without you being there. It's like that. So those are some challenges of living here. The cultures are different, and you gotta have a lot of extra patience, be prepared to repeat yourself a few times. Yes, so I just want to say that. But also, you know, the beautiful part of living here is, to me, number one, safety. It's just safe. Like, I don't hear about shootings or killings or murders or anything like that. You might hear about like petty theft, like people stealing people's phones, maybe a robbery here and there. But again, it's not any different than Canada or the US, right? Those things happen there too. Those things happen everywhere. So I'm not gonna say that, you know, it doesn't have its little pockets of little petty crime, but still in comparison to the West, I think it's much safer in my personal opinion. So that's one thing you don't have to worry about. And when I moved here, I didn't really know why I moved here. I'm trying to reevaluate why I actually did move here though, because I just had this feeling that I just wanted to not be in Canada, be in a black country, and things are not perfect here, you know what I mean? But I just feel connected to this place. I don't really know why, but I just feel this like urge to be here. So comment down below if any of you guys have that feeling as well. Like, do you feel like, you know, you just want to come home, come back to the motherland? Comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are. So if you guys want any more updates on my life, literally just follow me, because I post vlogs 2 to 3 times a week about everything that's going on. So you'll see how I live, my lifestyle, and what I spend and what I do and all that type of stuff. So if you're not already following me, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. But this is the end of the video. I just want to give you guys like a kind of quick update on living here, how it's been so far, and a little bit of information for you guys if you're also interested in coming to Ghana. Maybe come for a visit and just see how you like the place, right? Oh, I also want to say, like, let's say you do budget to come, or you want to make a budget, like a realistic budget. I would say that you should save up about, I would say save up like 2 years worth of living expenses, right? So for example, let's say rent, you can go onto this website called Mi Casa, and you can just see what they have in the areas. I would say maybe like put away $600 US to $700 US for rent. And that's if you want to live comparably, to how you live in the West now, but you can bring that budget down to like $450 for like a 2-bedroom, approximately about $400 or $450 for a 2-bedroom in a decent area, not too far from like the airport or town. And maybe a 3-bedroom, you could go up to like $700 or so. So I would say budget for that, and then you need like a year's worth. Transportation, I would just say like budget $5 every day, $5 a day. So it's about $150 a month. And of course, you're not going to use it every single day, but I would just budget, I'd rather be over budget than under budget. And then food, if you're creative, it can be like $250 a month for like 3 people. Yeah, so maybe just, budget in your mind like $800 a month to $900 a month to relocate, and just devote that to living expenses, or some of your living expenses, right? That's what I would say. So I think that's definitely doable. There are nicer areas to live in, but the price tag is reflective of that. So you could pay up to $2,000, $3,000 if you want a house, and it depends on the area. So that's if that's what you're aiming for. But the budget I just suggested is probably like a flat, and it's not necessarily in the heart of town or like a bougie, I don't want to say bougie, but upscale area. Like where I live right now, it's a very, it's cool. Like it's kind of perfect, not too far out, but it's pretty still close, right? So it's doable to find something in that range. Anyways, you all, so that is it for this video. If you guys have any more questions, definitely comment down below and I'll give you some more details. All right, so this is it for now. I'm going to see you guys in my next video. Peace out. Bye from Ghana.